Welcome to Let's Write This Movie, where we write a screenplay
while sharing the process with the internet.
I am your screenwriter, René Garcia.
And I'm your collaborator, Brian Glass.
Now, let's write this movie. Okay. Excellent. You just stepped on a Lego.
What?
You just stepped on a Lego.
Oh.
Hello, Brian.
Hi, Renee.
Man, 9 o'clock. We're starting at 9 o'clock.
We had an hour of recording and an hour of troubleshooting.
Yeah, basically. Jeez. Well, that's fine. This will be a short episode anyway, right? That's what we were planning on doing.
Yeah, absolutely. Are we recording right now?
We're recording right now, Brian.
Perfect. Fantastic. How you doing, buddy?
I'm okay. I was ill. We haven't had an episode up in a while. I was ill. I haven't updated the site. Haven't done a lot of stuff, Brian. But I don't get ill very often. And when I get sick, it's catastrophic almost, which is I always try to not get sick. And so this time around was not as bad as it could have been. Like I didn't have the flu or anything, thank goodness. But I was down, man. I felt pretty bad. And when you are incapacitated, or at least for me, when I'm incapacitated to the point where I can't work, all I can think of is how great it's going to be to not feel this way so that I can work again. Oh. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And so I just have all this energy to do stuff. Maybe not energy, but desire. I have this desire to start doing stuff. So, as longtime viewers know, I run another website called workingauthor.com, and I've really invested a lot of time to bringing that website back to life. I got an SSL certificate for it, so now it's a secure site. I downloaded or installed an SEO plugin for it. Got all of the Google tools attached to it that I didn't before. I was just using some janky stuff before to track metrics. Now I'm using industry best practices, for all of that. So
nice.
Yeah, I'm getting back into it. And I was writing up a blog post talking about the resurgence of the working author before we started recording.
So this all happened during your downtime?
Well, the desire for
it.
As soon as I was on the mend, if you will. Yeah. That's when I started to really get into it.
Oh, that's exciting. That's gonna be great to be to be able to read Working Author again. It's been a while.
Yeah. A
few trailers and things, I've read in sporadically, but it'll be nice to be a regular reader yet again.
Yeah, and that's the thing. As a one-man show, again, I don't know how much I'm going to contribute, how often, if it's just going to be once a week or, maybe multiple times a week, but most of those editions will be just news items. Here's a new trailer, the new Star Wars teaser trailer dropped.
Right. So the 2-minute teaser.
Well, I know. It's the thing. It's I don't get it, bro.
Full-length teaser.
That's what I mean. They might as well be, right? It's what's the difference between a teaser and a trailer?
Yeah, I know. Time, I guess, time to the movie, not time in the trailer itself.
Yeah.
It's we're really far away right now. Things may change a lot.
I guess. I don't know.
That happened in Rogue One quite a bit.
Yeah, that's true. That is true.
I get the impression that looking at this one, there's some pivotal things they're showing here. I can't imagine this will not be in the movie, the actual movie. The main part of it, at least.
There's the possibility of that. Some have said online that it looks like footage that was chopped out of The Last Jedi.
Oh, I doubt it.
Well, of course, I guess it just looks like it doesn't look like new footage, basically. It still has the kind of feel of the previous movie, is the argument that they're making. So, I don't know, bro.
We'll see. But, back on point, it'll be nice to be back on Working Author again.
Yeah.
You know, one thing that'd be really nice to include on that is like maybe like a retro area, and we can do like Angel reviews on something like that on there. What do you think? Like Angel's Corner.
Oh, do you want to contribute, Brian? Is that what you're telling me?
No, we'll put some audio up there.
Oh,
maybe,
I see.
Like maybe someone's done some podcast about it. I don't know.
You know what? I am going to be pretty starved for content that I wouldn't mind doing something like that. And
I may be so desperate, Brian, that I need to do that.
No, I don't mean it that way. What I mean is it's kind of not irrelevant, but inappropriate, right? To put that on there. But I would be willing to have a section, you know, just for why not? You know, it's kind of fun. It's something that we created. Because I am going to put links to this project on there.
Sure. Oh, maybe we can at some point do like just do something else for fun, just to discuss something more current than that.
That's the thing. I'm going to heavily invest, or maybe not heavily at first, but I will definitely invest in more video content. So, you know, I have this. I'm going to the screening of Endgame on the 23rd. I know it's only a couple of days before it actually drops to the public, but I do plan on doing like you know, a hot take reaction on video. Like as soon as I get out of the theater, because it's gone to the Disney lot, right?
Yeah.
And I'm taking my brother. I'm just going to have him start recording me outside of the theater as people are pouring out. I think that'll be like an awesome video.
I agree.
You know, it'll give viewers a feeling of like what it's like to actually be there without actually like being in the theater.
Right.
You know? And you know, the thing is I'm a little leery about that because it's a hot take, right? I haven't really had time to digest.
Yeah.
And so I'm thinking, you know, record the beginning of the hot take, and then as like, you know, we're having dinner to talk about it, like record some more, and then I'll just edit it. And then of course we're going to have to sit in the traffic to get home. So I'll have more time to think it over.
The real experience.
Oh yeah, totally. You know what's funny? This is totally like tangential to this project, but I feel like talking tonight. So one of the things I wanted to do when I was like really into it, when I was like, you all right, bro?
Yeah, I'm just going to mute myself for a second.
All right. There you go. Anyway, when I was really into the whole thing, like driving out to LA every night after work, and then having to drive home, you know, like late at night. And you know, the thing with California, Southern California, is like your life is just traffic. If you have to go anywhere outside of like outside of like a 5-mile radius of wherever you are, you're going to be in traffic, right? That's just your life. That's just the existence. It's part and parcel to Southern California living is traffic. I actually wanted to, and you know, I have no friends, right? So I did a lot of like talking to myself in the car, right? Because you're sitting in traffic for like 2 hours one way.
Yeah.
You know, what else are you going to do? So I actually wanted to like just start essentially vlogging in my car.
Live stream it.
But, well, this is like in the like 2009 ish. So, you know, it wasn't that big yet.
Yeah.
But anyway, the point I'm making is that I wish I had done that, because I think I would have had some good content. Like, you know, you and I had discussed becoming like a YouTube personality way back in the day. And I'd said to you, you know what, I don't know if I have that kind of personality to like be able to just like talk uninterrupted, because I don't have any video editing skills. Like I said, this is like 2009. This was like early YouTube. Early YouTube. Yeah. And you know, I didn't have like a good camera. I mean, right now, like the cameras on phones are amazing. Yeah. Right? So, you know, I didn't have equipment, didn't have editing skills. YouTube wasn't that big of a thing yet. And, you know, you were encouraging me, like, you know, René, you can just like, you don't have to record yourself and just do one take. You know, you can insert little things where, you know, you're like looking away, or you're tapping your pen or something like that. And I was like, yeah. But I didn't know how easy it was to do that. Maybe it was harder back then, but you know, today it's like we can whip that up pretty easily.
Yeah, it's not. It's never been that hard.
And the thing is, it's like I think we're all used to all these crazy jump cuts, you know, with people talking to the camera.
Right.
And I think back then I wanted to like just have something super polished and like I want to represent myself really well here. I don't want to just like, just jump cutting all over the place. But it's like that's how you do videos now is just jump cuts, 1,000 jump cuts.
This is back in the day when you had the fedora, right?
That's right. And that was yeah.
I remember now. It's just coming. It's all coming back.
It's all coming back, bro.
Well, the reality is, I'm a nice thing to have on this broadcast, but you could do it without me. You have no problem just talking. It's nice, I guess, to get a little interaction, but you're great just talking.
I mean, I could probably these would be a lot shorter without you, though, man. You know what I mean? Like,
I would say a little shorter, a fraction shorter.
Okay,
10% maybe.
Well, you know what? Well, whatever. Okay, so let's get back on point here. All right, so last time, and this will still make sense because I'll put up the last episode first before this. Okay. That hasn't gone up. So last time, Brian gave me all of his notes.
Wait, I don't get to do any banter? Just you get to do the banter this time?
Oh, give me banter, Brian. Go ahead, banter away.
I don't have anything. Go ahead.
Okay, so last time, Brian gave me all of his notes, and I hadn't had a chance to go over all of them because, it's a lot. It's 120 pages worth of notes. It's actually less than that, but, it's like over 120 pages. And, it takes time to digest all of those things, blah, blah, blah. So let me just give some thoughts here around the notes. Most of them were cosmetic, and I felt they were nitpicky in parts. And I understand that Brian wanted to be nitpicky because he was approaching this from a reader's perspective. And how would they, someone who hasn't like essentially worked on the script and knew what I was trying to do, would they understand the positioning of where characters are? And does that make sense? Things like that. So I tried to take all of that into consideration, and I made changes accordingly. Some things I didn't change, like the kid still is in charge of the ammo bag, and he still does the thing. I know you don't like that, but until I can think of...
I thought I didn't call that out the second time. Did I call that out again?
Yeah, you called it out. You're like, I thought you were going a different direction.
Oh, because we had talked about it.
We did talk about it, right? And I said I was going to, but at this point I can't think of anything that is like significantly better than what I have. And
it's really a small piece.
Well, that's the thing, right?
It's not going to really, I don't know. It's not taking away, detracting from the story. I don't think. Yeah. It was just something I kind of saw coming, but it's not that big of a deal.
Okay.
The big deals I kind of starred for you. These are the ones I think they're, ones I pay attention to. The rest of them are more like you said, ticky tack or recommendations.
Yeah.
Clarification.
No, I thought they were good notes overall.
Mm-hmm.
I did notice though that you didn't catch the whole the bite on Bud's arm. Like,
yeah, you mentioned that, and I know you said that someone else hadn't caught it. I'm like, where was that? Did I miss that too?
Yeah, you missed it too.
I did.
It's fine.
It's weird.
I remembered it, so.
I mean, it's weird because I was actually looking for it. I'm like, where is this? Did I miss this twice, or what's happening?
Yeah, it's on their way. Bud and Bill are walking back to the mine. This is before the meteor hits it, and they run into Prophet. And there's just a description there that says, somehow the bite on Bud's arm looks even worse.
All right.
But he never has a bite, so. Okay. So let's get to the bigger issue. Okay, okay, never mind. Big issue, then we'll talk about a specific note you made, and then another larger specific note a longtime reader of my work made. So
great.
The big issue is that I'm at 120 pages. I don't have a lot of wiggle room to expand, basically. And a lot of the characterization of relationships and action and any like big changes to plot is going to expand. Like there's no minimizing really if you're with an addition. Does that make sense?
Something has to go.
Yeah. So one of the things that I tried to add while compressing at the same time was a familial relationship between Sally and Zeke and Patrick to add a foundation or build a foundation for Zeke's reaction to Patrick dying.
Right.
Like, really, why would these, you're in a life and death situation. If someone who in your party runs off because they're scared, it's going to take a really strong relationship for, you to risk your life to go after them. Right? If it's just some dude in town, it's like, well, he had the option to stay with us and live. He ran off. I'm not going to go and chase him.
It is so interesting you're bringing this up.
Okay.
Because I remember being on the plane and got to this part, and I put a note in there, and I wrote like a whole bunch about it, and I took it out because I thought, it probably would require too much work to get there. But I thought, if you don't mind me kind of interrupting and giving my thoughts on this.
Yeah.
I thought, why not make Patrick their son? And then, but because I thought it would like be an instant type of connection, the ages probably play out, but then certain things that happen later don't really necessarily play as well. But that's kind of where I was. That's the one note that I actually took out of of my iteration.
Yeah. The son, I think I had a fleeting, desire to do that. Like that would solve the relationship issue, but I don't think a parent would let their son get beaten, to get silver. Like that whole scene would have to change. Like they wouldn't wait for long to save him. Right. All of that. Okay. So what I had added, for those who haven't read the script, because I haven't put it up, is that, Patrick goes into the bar, which he did previously, but now he gets some fatherly advice from Zeke about looks, right? And I wanted there to be this like back and forth and include Sally, and Zeke says something like, not everything about a woman is looks. Look at Sally. I love her. You know what I mean? And then she would say something, and it would just be this like, they have a fun, contentious relationship, but obviously it's built on a foundation of love and familiarity, and that's supposed to be instilled in Patrick, but he can't get over how creepy Jane is, right? But that would have added way too long, especially it's just dialogue, it's like, I could just, I was already like freaking out at like how many lines it was going to be adding to the page. And what's funny is that I added like one extra line of dialogue in that scene because I was trying to fix it based on your note. I was like, you know what? He says it's forced. What can I do to make it seem less forced? I added like one line, and that big chunk of white space on 120, right?
Gone.
All that is boom, 121. I was like, oh my god. So I was like, sorry, Brian, it's gonna be forced.
Cascade effect, man.
Got to rely on the actors. That's what acting is for. Okay, so with that said, my longtime friend, his name is Adrian. He owns his own production company out of New York. By all accounts, they are successful. They actually have a game show on True TV that they were able to sell. It's called, I think it's called Paid Off. And I don't know if he's going to be watching this show, but Adrian, if you are, I apologize if I'm not representing it well, but Paid Off, True TV. Basically, the game show is if you are a college student, if you win, I don't know what the game show is exactly, you get your student loans paid off, college debt paid off. Is the prize.
Yeah.
Which I think that's cool concept. Anyway.
But if you lose, you go further in debt.
Exactly. You have to get a master's.
In liberal arts.
Exactly. So Adrian, who is a screenwriter himself, has a movie that was produced and is you can actually go out and buy it on DVD.
Called?
I can't remember. That's what it's called. I'm just kidding. I can't remember. But he, I actually, it's the only movie that has a blurb from me, like a review blurb.
Oh, nice.
So I feel very proud of that. And it's packed away somewhere in one of these boxes I never open. Anyway, Adrian, I can always count on him. He's got very good instincts about story. So I can always count on him to give me good feedback that just makes sense to me, right? And he's got a really great way of giving feedback. It's hard to describe, but it always just resonates with me as a creative. It's like just two creatives like resonating with each other, right? One of the notes he brought up was that I need to look at who this story is really about and limit it to those people. Like he had suggested, like, hey, make Zeke and Sally just like hired guns and they die off early. You know, some of his feedback I'm not really feeling, right? I don't think I'm ready to make that leap. But it got me thinking about Jebediah and the whole soldier thing, because the note that resonated with me the most was, does the story need to have two armies? And he talks about, you know, the outpost soldiers and the fort soldiers. And I started thinking about that. Do I need to confuse the audience with town soldiers? Like, the whole reason there's an outpost there is because in the very beginning of this, I thought of the whole town as having been like a reconditioned giant fort. Remember with the whole spiked wood fence thing? Remember that? And you were like, what the hell is that, René? And I was like, I don't know. I saw it in a cartoon. I thought that's how they were back in the day. And, you know, it was like that vision in my head changed the trajectory of the story. Like, you know, why do I have to have soldiers in town? I don't necessarily, right? So I can get rid of all of the references to outpost soldiers and all of that. Maybe the center of town is just a town hall, right? That can help alleviate some of the pages. But then I also got to thinking about the fort soldiers. There is a big set piece where, you know, Jebediah is leading his men and charge, the fort's under attack. And then they got the whole, like, you know, fighting on the wall and shooting the zombies coming out of the barracks, and then the whole thing with the wounded, and he's got to give a speech about all of this stuff to make the men feel better. You know what I mean? It's like, is that important? Is that important to the story that I'm trying to tell? I'm not saying we get rid of the fort soldiers entirely, but maybe I can limit it. Like, why is that scene important? Why does the audience need to see it?
They need to learn some of the rules there early on.
Okay, what if I just minimize it to the rule explanation, right? Like, instead of the way it plays out now, it's instead, you know, we have soldiers from the fort in the town and they're sick. Like, maybe these are the soldiers who are in charge of, like, getting supplies to bring back to the fort, right? One of them gets sick and he brings the infection to the fort. Instead of having it play out the way it is now, maybe it's during mess and, you know, Lieutenant Jones is explaining to the captain as he wakes up and joins them for breakfast. Like, hey, we had a casualty last night. You know, he's in the infirmary. You know, we're going to go, you know, bury him today or whatever. And then they look and they see that soldier standing in the doorway. And he's a zombie, but they don't understand what zombies are, right? And then the soldiers that brought him in, like, oh my God, I thought you were dead. They go up to him, hug him or something, and then he gets bitten. And that's when, you know, we as the audience learn with soldiers that you have to shoot them in the head. You know, that, you know, you start off as infected and you get killed and then you come back as a zombie.
Yeah.
Is this working for you, Brian?
Yeah. The only thing I'm thinking is there actually is another reason that the scene is helpful, and that is in kind of seeing the just seeing what the sheer mass, you know, the power, the strength of this horde that's coming at them, you know, the impact it has on them. Not just learning the rules, but seeing that. I mean, it still could play out in this alternate version you're talking about.
Yeah.
But I think that's important as well.
Okay. Well, and I agree. we can start off with the soldier, the zombie bites a soldier, he goes down, and let's say it's a neck bite, so the infection moves very quickly. He becomes an infected. I don't know what kind, maybe just a generic infected who wants to bite other soldiers, and we can just see, the quick spread of the infection, a la World War Z.
Right.
Right. And we can see the real-time mounting of the defense against this quickly spreading infection, and then learn the whole, you're infected, you die, you become a zombie, you have to be shot in the head. And just right after that, Jebediah can just turn to Jones and say, where did this soldier come from? And we cut back to the town.
Right.
And then the whole speech, the whole hey, steel yourself and all that.
Yeah.
I can write that back in, but now it's going to be much quicker right before they mow down the people,
out from
Father Espinosa and all that.
Yeah. Right. No, I think that makes sense. So if the outpost is gone, the Jimmy and what's her name from the train, they're going to the outpost, right? Because they feel like that's a safe area to go to.
Town hall now, whatever you want to call it.
So they just go to a place that is heavily fortified or something,
we'll say defensible because it's a big building that has a stockpile.
Armor, you mean?
Well, it has food, water.
Oh, okay.
And townspeople will have brought their guns with them there.
Yeah, I never felt the outpost was that particularly necessary.
Yeah.
I think you could definitely play it this way. But just to the bigger question is it pulling focus from the main story, the main two characters? I remember reacting at one point that I didn't like some of the things that were being said because I'm like, oh, this is cool stuff. And I hate it's coming from, I think it may have been Jebediah.
Yeah.
I'm guessing it will still be there, but maybe there'll be less of an emphasis now if there's going to be a little bit of a reduction of screen time.
Like what?
I don't remember exactly, but I remember it was towards the end. One of the last things he said, it was definitely after the steal yourself. I think it was a discussion between him and Jones, where he's kind of he may have been even narrating over the action that was taking place back in town.
Okay.
And I was just like, I really like what was written. I wish it wasn't coming from him. I wish it was coming from one of the main characters because I did feel he was a little bit of an ancillary character. So I guess but again, to the greater point, I think that could definitely work. I think it's an interesting point he makes.
Yeah. And the reason I like it, there's no resolution with the soldiers. There's no arc for them really, right? They're there to slaughter the town. That's pretty much it. After the big showdown, it's not long, has some kind of closure with the soldiers. They don't know each other, right? There's very little overlap between those stories. So it doesn't make sense for me to build them up in the audience's mind to make them think okay, I better remember how Jebediah is and his character and the things he says because this is going to be important. Look how much time I'm spending learning about them.
Right.
And if I cut it down, this will free up a lot of pages that allow me to then build the relationships that I'm trying to characterize with Patrick and Zeke and all of them,
I think if it's a choice, I would agree with that. If the choice is to build a little bit more of those guys that I do want to care more about.
Yeah.
And more of a relationship and interaction, and even more, I think even wrote something about a little bit more between Zeke and Sally to bring them a little bit closer so that we really do care about them and give them their kind of shrift. I think that would make sense. Yeah. I think that's good.
Well, there you go. This is a big change though. So.
Yeah. I don't know, maybe they're coming back in movie 2. You've kind of set the stage like, oh, I remember those guys from the first movie. I don't know when they go and do the, you said it's vampires or something, or werewolves, I forgot.
Oh, yeah, it's gonna be werewolves. Who are you talking about?
Jebediah and Jones.
Oh, well,
I
yeah,
think.
of course.
Oh,
Of course.
they can have their expanded screen time then.
Well, that's the thing. They're gonna in the third movie, if we even get there, that's where the relationship would be. So yeah, I mean, this all makes sense to me. So I'm already like pretty committed to at least exploring this, like writing a draft with a truncated military exposure.
So what would you do? Would you take it all out first and see where you're at, and then build from there? Not, you know what I mean by all out, like the parts that you don't think are now any longer necessary. Not all military, just the parts that are, you know.
Yeah. Well, I would take out. I would rewrite. Basically, what I would do is I wouldn't take out. I would. Well, it would be a simultaneous edit, I guess, or change. It would be a removal and a replacement.
Oh, okay, so you build up at the same time.
Yeah.
To build up the other character lines.
No. Well. I would have to. I would excise the way the soldiers are presented now, and replace that with the new version of the soldiers, and then see how many pages are left over.
Okay, that's what I meant. That's
Yeah.
the first way. Okay.
There you go.
Yeah. So if you end up with like 115, you're rocking for 5 great pages, and
Yeah.
I don't know if it'll be that much. I don't know did you give him really that much space in the story, or
Well,
just
there's a
enough
lot
to
of space,
distract?
bro.
Is there of that?
I don't know the page count necessarily, but I'm just thinking about
Interesting.
like all of the dialogue,
Oh yeah.
because like,
It's the dialogue that kills you.
yeah, Jeb has to ride up to the fort. He has to
Yeah.
get the report from Jones. Then they have the big fight. And then Jones has to explain, basically what the audience already knows, that this dead guy showed up.
Yeah.
And then he has to describe the breakfast. We don't see it. It's just like
Yeah.
this big like monologue of like, this is what happened over breakfast.
I like being at breakfast
Of
in
course.
the mess. I think that's cool.
Yeah.
Just skip all that and go right in and watch it happen
Yeah.
in
Exactly.
a couple action lines.
Yeah. And then we don't have any conversation with Dodson. I can get rid of a character, an entire character.
Right. I think that makes sense. I'm on board with that.
All right. So one thing that do you have anything else to say about this, Brian?
No, I think that's a good note. Did he have any other notes that were large like that?
No, I mean he has several little notes. One
Okay.
thing that resonated was he really liked the part that you didn't like, which is the Jebediah and Jones on the hilltop about like what do I say to God, sir? About what we did here, killing these people, trying to survive, and he liked the whole the sentiment of just doing the best that we could.
That was the part I was talking about before. It wasn't that I didn't like it. I didn't like it. It was them saying it. I like those. Those are cool lines.
Oh,
But
okay.
I hate that they're being said by these characters that, aren't part of the main story. You know what I mean? That was my only issue with it. I actually thought those are really cool lines. That's what I was referencing earlier.
Okay.
So, if they're saying it, it's fine. They're expressing another sentiment of the audience anyway.
Yeah.
So that's okay. They're watching from a distance just like the audience is to some
And
extent.
as he's saying it, we're seeing those characters
Right.
because it's voiceover, right? So,
That's exactly the thing I was talking about earlier.
Yeah.
All right. Sounds like we're leading to a point of contention with my notes.
no, that's
I thought
it.
you were coming back to something else that you had an issue with, though.
No, I mean, there are things I said, I'm not going to go with that note or whatever, but it's not anything big.
So are you waiting on anyone else's feedback? Or
Well,
do you feel like,
yes, I am. But there are some big people that I haven't sent the script to for feedback,
okay,
and I really should. I just should send it to these people because they're like professionals, like, you know, actual people, like actual filmmakers who are willing to read my work. So,
well, I mean, maybe it makes more sense after you make this next edit, though.
yeah, no, totally.
Yeah.
The reason I'm kind of like hesitating here is in what I'm saying is that one of them has a project that he asked me to plug in exchange to, you know, for reading my script.
Yeah.
And I wanted to do that on this show, but I haven't taken the time to like really get into his Indiegogo project to you know, distill it down into something that I can present. And I'd love to have it on screen so people can know about it, blah blah blah.
Sure.
So maybe I'll just do that on Working Author instead.
Or we could do it the next show.
Yeah, well,
Either way.
you know, the sooner the better, because, you know, these crowdfunding campaigns, you know, they're always like
Expire.
time limited. So
Yeah.
anyway, that's all I have for tonight, Brian. Well, do you have anything else to say before I get on to the next thing?
No, nothing particular about the script. More just housekeeping, trying to figure out, you know, kind of what you want to do next
Yes.
in terms of the show.
I don't know. And that's that's what I wanted to say, because it's like I have this idea for the change, a big change.
Sure.
Should we say that is the thing that we're going to talk about? Like, we'll just read the change and not really the other parts of how it affects the script as a whole?
I think so. I mean, I think that if there's anything like relevant to the change, then we should maybe discuss that next time.
Okay.
But if you made other changes kind of as you went through my notes, his notes, your own thoughts, you know, I don't think we have to go through and nitpick the whole thing. I mean, once you're comfortable with it, you're comfortable with it. And people want to read, they can read it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Plus, I don't think it'd be realistic for us to do all that.
Well, that's the thing. We're at the point now where the changes are huge, and they don't exist in a vacuum. So other things are affected by this big change, and I don't know how to. That really messes up the format of what we've been doing. Is what I'm getting at. You know,
it introduces an interesting problem. I mean, if there's a way, I mean, I don't know if this is possible, Renee, but if there's a way for you to kind of track as you're going through, you know, like you made some changes on 18 through 22, and, you know, these are the areas that we need to discuss.
Yeah.
Probably the smarter way to hit it next time. That way I can read, you know, make sure I'm up to speed on all that so we can discuss it.
Yeah. Well, is that a new bracelet you're wearing, Brian?
No, I just don't usually wear it for the show. I just wear it out sometimes.
What is it? What does that mean?
It means absolutely nothing at all.
Oh, it's fashion?
Look at me, dude. I'm all about the fashion.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I'm not used to you, like, you know, going out of your way to accessorize.
Yeah, you know, I'm always looking for the next ex Mrs. Glass.
Oh. Wow, that's awful. Okay, so
that's what they all say.
Let's say we get the script into a place where I feel like, okay, this is pretty much final.
Yeah.
And I feel like after this big change, like, I'll feel like it's good enough that, you know, if I send it out to anyone else, if they have other like suggestions, I'm probably only going to be willing to make like minor things.
Right.
So we had talked previously about like doing a read through and an animatic and all of that. But in light of what you've said tonight on a different project, do you think you want to talk about that a little bit, about like how impossible my idea is?
I don't think it's impossible. I just don't know if we can do it all at one time. So I'm doing something similar to Renee, but I'm doing more in just an audio version of a podcast that I'm writing, and he's been helping me out quite a bit doing some of the characterizations, and in getting those other people to commit on tape has been really, really difficult. And so my issue was, if we're going to try and do some sort of read through and get it recorded and have everyone do it at once, is it even possible to get that technically done without renting out a place, getting everyone gathered there, paying them to come? Or does it make more sense to kind of do it like you and I did it today, which is read with them, record those separately and then cut them together, or maybe get a couple of the main characters together that have to interact quite a bit, at least, so they can get that true energy off of each other.
Yeah.
I think it might be easier to do than trying to get them all at once. I just have that fear that it's going to fall through, and then you're going to have 5 out of 6 actors, and what do you do at that point? You have someone standing in, and then you
Right.
It's just a cluster. So so I think it might be better to do it that way, just to do them separately. Do you have a scene that you've earmarked as being the one that you'd want to do for the animatic?
No.
It's going to be one of your sets, I imagine. It's got to be one of your pieces that you had since the beginning, right? You usually have like 5 or 6 of those.
I mean,
what encapsulates the movie the best?
that's
I know
the thing, right? I like the one that I always see in my head is the shootout in the very beginning, right? But that doesn't. There's no zombies in that,
right?
That there's no turn. Like, how do you convey to someone watching 8 minutes of your show, of your movie?
Yeah,
this is everything, right?
Right.
Bro, I don't know.
I mean, it's almost got to be in the middle, right? Then.
Yeah, but even then, it's like that's not an iconic scene. I mean, don't get me wrong. A lot of the scenes, what I mean by iconic, iconic in the sense of I had envisioned it since the beginning.
Right.
Right. Man, this is I didn't think about this. What do you think, Brian?
I had the same problem because you started off as a Western. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then it morphs. I think okay, well, it's going to come down to not the set pieces to me. It's going to come down to the characterization. It's going to come down to the relationship between Long and Everett. So what's the best scene that kind of conveys that? I mean, my head goes to the cell. So I'm just curious, like, what's a good scene between the two of them? Because I think that's critical, rather than having everyone in it, which is fine, but not as important as the relationship that forms between the two of them.
So let's take a step even farther back.
Mm-hmm.
What would convince a producer to say, this is a movie, I want to read the script based on this animatic? Like, I don't want them, I would love for them to get this, that exchange in the cell, right?
Yeah.
I think that's awesome. It's like these two guys, like, this hatred that is, this fire that will never be quenched kind of thing,
Right.
And like, oh man, this is true Western stuff. I love it. And then they read the script. It's like, what the hell, zombies?
Well, the last scene of the animatic is and zombies.
There you go. Exactly. So I was thinking maybe what if it was the hotel room when Long first arrives at the hotel room with Everett.
Mm-hmm.
And, he's shoved in there. As someone watching just the animatic, they don't understand what the problem is. They know that, okay, they're holed up in this room, and they need to, just wait until morning, right? And by their attire, they'll know it's the West, the Old West.
Right.
But then, they're attacked by the Yoo-Hoos and the Headbangers, and they see, like, wait a second, wow, these guys are monsters. So it's a Western with these monsters. We don't know that they're zombies necessarily. I don't know if that's important, just that they're monsters.
Yeah. Remind me, because your memory on this is so much better, but doesn't that scene have quite a bit of Stan as well?
Yes. Yes. Why?
And Stan and Long are kind of going at it right. And am I thinking about the right one?
Yeah, that's it.
And Everett's kind of, maybe it might work.
Because that'll explain like why, that Long is essentially a bad guy. He's dangerous. They're trying to get rid of him.
I'd have to kind of reread it as its own to see how it stands up.
Totally.
I know what you're saying about, the cell scene not being
representative.
Not representative enough. It's almost like at the end of the show, at the end of it, if you put something from like Act 3 where they're all fighting, that's not at all what it is either.
Right.
That's just a part of it.
Right.
So that scene is still smack dab in Act 2 that you're talking about.
Yes. But I just feel like it has all of the elements.
Yeah, they've turned by that, and and they're getting attacked, and they're holding them off.
Yeah.
I think as long as the character elements come through strong enough, and it's not just action, because that's a real good action scene. But I think the charm of the movie and what would draw me in would be like, do I care? Right? Not just am I seeing something cool, but do I care about this? And if it's not being portrayed strong enough, then I would lean towards something that's more about the character again, or at least the relationship between the two of them.
Okay.
Like maybe one of those where maybe like when either Long is being taken along, like saved by Everett.
Yeah.
And he takes him with him under his wing, and he has the confrontation with Sam, or maybe the other one, where he basically, that's okay. I'm thinking of it like a trailer, like you can't give all that away, but to a producer you can tell him, where Long takes Everett along. I think those are really interesting character moments for both of them.
Well, okay, so here's a sequence that could work is when Everett saves Long in the cell, and then, they get out of that, and then they're holed up at Porter's Goods, and they have this exchange about, like, why did you save me? And, you could have, Everett basically explains, like, if I wanted you dead any old way, I would have just shot you in the street, but you got to meet justice. So we kind of get their relationship a little bit, through just like dialogue. And I'm also trying to think of how much is it going to cost to draw, right? Like, what's the effort going to be required of the artist?
Yeah.
If I can minimize that, then I think I can save myself thousands of dollars.
So, the obvious question is, have you considered drawing it yourself?
No, no way am I going to draw it myself.
Really?
It'll take me way too long.
So it's a speed issue because you've got the talent.
Well, I think you could draw it over a long enough timeline. You know what I mean? And so that's the thing, it's like, here's most likely what I would do. Since I have it pre-visualized, I would probably draw something very rough.
Sure, of course.
Say these are the angles. I need them positioned this way, blah, blah, blah. Give me these expressions. And then have, a professional do it.
Yeah.
Anyway, Brian, I don't want to, these are just thoughts, we don't have to like settle on anything tonight. Obviously these are very big, issues that we need to tackle.
Yeah. Well, that's a big next step after you kind of get the script to the point where you're, if you've made these other adjustments we talked about, that's kind of the natural next step.
Yeah. Well, at the very least, I think I have a goal to work towards for next week.
Yeah, certainly.
So there you go.
All right. Rock and roll.
Okay. Well, I don't feel like plugging anything tonight since I haven't updated the site.
I do.
You really want me to plug?
No, it's fine.
Okay. Because we're going to wrap up right now, Brian.
Fair enough.
Okay. If you enjoyed this episode, Please give us, well, what the hell? I'm plugging without showing anything. So
I love it. Can't help yourself.
well, I do have to plug the YouTube channel, right?
Right.
Obviously, you're watching this. If you've discovered us by accident or however, please give us a like and subscribe.
Do you
We're
like
trying
us?
to, trying to make something happen here.
Hit the button. It's okay.
That's it.
We're not going to judge you.
I'll
be
judge
happy.
you. And we will.
You gave the and. I had to.
We'll see you in the next episode. Goodbye.
Peace.